Boat landings. Captain Balance of the Cape Hatteras station stated, "I believe they abandoned her after taking everything of value." He also claimed the crew ran her up the shoals on purpose. The investigation was ultimately unsuccessful. No evidence of the crew, the ship's log, or the navigational aids were ever found. It's still a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. What do you think happened to the Deering? Let us know in the comments down below, and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video so far. 3. The Royal Merchant. The Royal Commercial, which is often referred to as the Merchant Royal, was an English merchant ship that met a tragic end in 1641 off the coast of Cornwall, England. When England and Spain were at peace, the Royal Merchant spent 2 years in the waters of the West Indies between 1637 and 1640, dealing with Spanish territories. After finishing her business, the boat returned to London with her sister ship, the Dover Merchant. They stopped at Cadiz on their route home so they could fix a leak in the Royal Merchant. While it was docked in Cadiz, the captain and crew witnessed a Spanish ship catch on fire. The ship was on its way to Flanders to pay for 30,000 Habsburg soldiers in treasure. After the loss of the Spanish ship, Captain Limbri of the Royal Merchant saw a lucrative opportunity and offered to transport the Spanish loot to Antwerp on their way back to England to earn a small profit. A staggering amount of gold and silver were now waiting inside the Royal Merchant's cargo. It's estimated that it contained at least 100,000 pounds of gold, 400 bars of Mexican silver, and nearly 500,000 pieces of 8 and other currencies, valuing an astounding sum of over $1.5 billion. The Royal Merchant's chances of making it home were low, thanks to the lengthy journey and the increased shipload from the added valuables. The Royal Merchant perished in a watery grave on September 23, 1641, after a storm opened up leaks and malfunctioning pumps were unable to get rid of the oncoming water. 18 men died in the sinking, along with a rumored amount of treasure, while Captain Limbri and 40 of his crew escaped. To continue their journey home, Limbri and the survivors were picked up by their sister ship, Dover Merchant. Over the centuries, a few treasure hunters have searched for the missing Royal Merchant ship. For many years, the Odyssey marine exploration business sought after the treasure, and in 2007, they found a wreckage where they discovered approximately $500 million worth of silver and gold. The Nuestra Senora de las Mercedes, a Spanish ship that sank in 1804 off the southern coast of Portugal, was thought to have carried...
The legendary A-10 Warthog arrives in the War Thunder online action game. The sound of a 7-barrel gun.
Some of the riches that were lost when it first sank, although many people still believe this came from the Royal Merchant. A long shank anchor with an Admiralty pattern, similar to the one the Royal Merchant would have used, got entangled in fishing nets in March 2019. Cornish fishermen aboard the Spirited Lady dredged up the anchor from the seafloor, about 20 miles from Land's End, and about 300 feet below sea level. The Royal Merchant, a ship carrying $1.5 billion in treasure, was lost to the stormy waters off the coast of Cornwall in 1641. The Odyssey Marine Exploration Firm and several others are still searching for the ship and money today. 2. The Witchcraft. On the night of December 22nd, 1967, seasoned sailor and hotelier Dan Burak sailed off on the Witchcraft luxury cabin cruiser with his friend, Father Patrick Horgan, to see holiday lights off the coast of Miami, Florida. Unfortunately, not too far offshore, at 9 p.m., the boat collided with something beneath the water. Although he did not perceive any imminent danger, Dan seemed like he knew the yacht's rudder or even the propeller system had been damaged in the collision. The actual hull, though, appeared fine. Dan called the Miami Coast Guard at 9 p.m. and let them know he needed help getting back to the marina he left from. Additionally, he said that there was no emergency on the Witchcraft. He was calm and collected when making the call, according to those who received it. Despite sending help as soon as they could, they didn't think there was an urgent problem based on the tone of Dan's voice. They didn't notice anything unusual about the situation until they arrived, barely 19 minutes after Dan's call had been answered. Many locals were aware that the Witchcraft had a custom floating system. The opulent boat was thought to be unsinkable, but history often proves otherwise. When help came, the Witchcraft had vanished into thin air. In actuality, there was no indication that the yacht had been in a struggle, and there was no sign a boat had ever been there at all. At this moment, witchcraft started to gain traction as the newest Bermuda Triangle mystery. The boat somehow vanished, and the Miami Coast Guard was at a loss for words. They never got any other
CQB.
requests for help from the vessel. To keep an eye out for the cruiser, they issued a warning to all ships. Dan, the priest, and his cherished witchcraft were still not found after a thorough search covering a region of 1,200 square miles. Despite the fact the boats were actively keeping an eye out for the boat, nobody saw it anywhere. Over the course of 6 days, an astonishing 24,500 square miles was eventually searched. The next Bermuda Triangle mystery seemed to be the witchcraft incident. They're believed to be missing, but not at sea, according to the Miami Coast Guard. The witchcraft mystery, which is one of the biggest unsolved nautical cases, will likely never be solved. 1. SS Poet. The SS Poet was built in 1944 for the US Navy. She was first used to transport troops during World War II up until 1949, when she was then sold a few times before eventually sitting unused for nearly 20 years. The Hawaiian Eugenia Corp bought the ship in 1979 and revived it as a bulk cargo carrier. The Poet left Girard Point in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 24, 1980, with a crew of 34 and 13,500 tons of corn. The ship was heavy on the bow and responded slowly as it made its way into Port Said, Egypt. These problems were of little consequence, as the ship was given the all-clear to start cruising along the Delaware River towards the Atlantic. When it passed by Cape Henlopen, Delaware, around 8:30 a.m., it reported its location. This was the Poet's last known communication ever. Although the ship was obligated to notify the Marine Administration of her location every 2 days, she didn't follow orders, and she wasn't reported missing until November 3rd, 1980. By then, if the ship had continued on its path, she would have arrived in Egypt at some point or another, but because of the delay, the search was difficult. In either case, the US Coast Guard launched a major investigation and search effort that spanned 290,000 square miles from Cape Henlopen to the Straits of Gibraltar. Additionally, a total of 9 aircraft searched about 393,000 square miles. The ship, its 34-person crew, any debris or an oil leak were never found. Another investigation was launched by the Marine Corps in an effort to find out what happened to the Poet. But other things soon came to light. At the Baltimore, Maryland Radio Control Tower, a brief alarm was heard on October 26, 1980. Because it was so short, it was impossible to tell if it was from the Poet. But if it was, the ship's location suggested it was around the edge of the